Hey, Mohammed, how's it going? I'm gonna give everybody a couple minutes to kind of fall in. It usually takes everybody, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then we'll kind of kick off as soon as everybody gets in here. Got a couple more people joining, so we're almost ready. Give it a couple more minutes and get everybody started. While we're waiting, I'll get a poll going, see if we can get everybody started. Okay, one more minute, we'll kick off, guys. All right, one more minute, we'll kick off in just a second. All right, well, we'll get it started. Okay, hey guys, thanks for coming. I'm Italo, and today we're going to be covering how to do revenue operations in HubSpot. This is a series we've been doing for a few weeks now on how to turn HubSpot into a revenue engine and make money while you sleep. So we're a HubSpot agency and a RevOps agency. I'm also the RevOps Coach at SaaS Academy. So we help mostly B2B SaaS, B2B service businesses, and tech companies like e-commerce automate their revenue through using HubSpot or other CRMs as well, AI agents automation, and best revenue operations practices. So today we're going to kind of go over some of that. In case you weren't at the last one, I'll do a quick recap of the first one to get everybody caught up to speed. And then we're going to go into how to map your sales pipeline today. So today's webinar is going to be a little more practical, where the first one's a little more theory. We have a series of these. We do them on the last Thursday of every month. We're going to start doing them weekly in June to kind of partner with some of the SaaS Academy people. So if you're interested in that, we'll start sending those emails out and doing some ads and promotion for that. So it's not just us helping people. We'll talk to founders and hear their stories and things that they've done using automations, HubSpot, CRM, and AI agents to automate their income and revenue and lead generation. So without further ado, I'll do a quick little recap of where we're at and what we've been working on. All right, let's see. Hopefully I'm not going to freeze. 1 second. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys can see the slides. Okay. Yep, there it is. You guys can finally see the slides. That's great. Okay. I'm going to move along here. Let's see. It's going a little slow today. Okay. So before we talked about the difference between the funnel and the flywheel, and how modern day businesses that are subscription are flywheels. The more people that you help, the more the word spreads, and then the more business you get, and the faster your business grows. So what we're doing is revenue operations, which is the science of how to increase that flywheel, increase the speed of that flywheel by doing three things: marketing, sales, and success. We want to bring in more leads, close them faster, help people faster, and then deliver value to them, and then and hopefully get referrals and case studies, testimonials. So the theory of this is that your business is a revenue factory, and just like a factory produces a product repeatedly, your business should be producing revenue repeatedly. And so we talked about different business models and how subscriptions work. Things that are annual contracts are more expensive, close a little slower, but they tend to 9 to 18 months versus SaaS or monthly billing will close in 2 weeks to 6 months, or product-led growth items, things that are pay per seat or pay per use, like API call, like your ChatGPTs, your ClickUps. Those things usually close really fast because there's a lot less risk for the buyer. They're not, everyone's okay to spend $20 a month on Netflix. It's not going to kill them. Opposed to someone who's going to spend, $100,000 on a enterprise product. That's a longer sales cycle. And so even though the sales cycle is longer, there's been some other things to be found where the win rates are better with larger, longer term products because they're more qualified leads. If someone's going to try to buy a $100,000 product that they need and they're shopping around for it, they're usually a little more serious of a buyer rather than somebody visiting your website for the first time and just trying out your product with a freemium, right? So the win rates are 1 to 3 here, 1 to 5 for normal SaaS, and 1 to 8 for product-led growth. This is important to know. So whenever you start building your sales pipeline, you have benchmarks on how to hold yourself accountable and make sure your team is doing a good job. So that's kind of how the theory works. And so based on price is kind of where you fall and how your model is going to work. So last time we talked about different models: product-led growth, 1 stage, 2 stage, field sales, named accounts. This is like account-based marketing. And this is relationship building, like enterprise sales. And so if you're selling something that's less than $5,000 a year, it's product-led growth. Up to $15,000, that's 1 stage. Like Zoom Info, they don't have a long sales cycle for SMBs. You just kind of fill out a form, they call you and qualify you right then. And then you can kind of self-serve if you want to. 2 stage is what most people do in B2B SaaS. You're doing mid-market. A lot of agencies have this model. You do a discovery call, then a demo call. And then account-based marketing is for larger deals where you're trying to sell $50,000 deals, that kind of thing, $100,000 deals. And so these are usually, you want to build a relationship with that business. There's a buying committee. There's more than one person making the decision usually, where 2-stage sales might just be a founder or a leadership person. This might have multiple people, an executive sponsor. You need a champion. Sometimes you need legal to get involved. And then named accounts is enterprise sales, where it might be a large buying committee and a very long sales cycle because it takes a lot of time to get things up and running and integrated. So that's kind of how that works. So for the sales cycle today, we're going to talk about, we're going to do 2-stage. This is the most common. So we're going to help you guys map that out because we do a lot of B2B SaaS in our SaaS Academy program. And we made this webinar to help a lot of B2B SaaS founders from that program, our current clients, and then and just any of the general public who needs help. So without further ado, we'll kind of get into the practicum. So we're going to do 2-stage model. What that looks like is you have usually prospecting, where you're trying to identify people who might have the problem that you're trying to solve, or you're trying to solve for them, or your product solves. Then you have a marketing qualified lead. These people start trying to educate themselves on how to solve the problem, and they're interested in you because when they're educating themselves, they end up downloading your content or joining your webinar like you guys did, or attending an event like a conference or something along the lines that tells you that they're interested and they might have this problem and they're interested in learning more about it or how to solve it. Then these people book a meeting with you and your sales team qualifies that lead. Once the sales team qualifies it, then they'll pass it on to the AE, the closers, and then they accept it. It's a sales accepted lead. And this is your first deal stage. This is where opportunity happens. They have opportunity between sales accepted lead and close. So this is where your deal stages take place. And then once they're closed, because it's usually a SaaS or a service tool, there's usually some onboarding. Maybe it's quick, it's a couple of days to set up, or a week, or maybe it's longer. A HubSpot might sometimes takes a month, a couple of months to set up for clients if they have a lot of salespeople, marketing people. Might be a longer rollout for onboarding. So you want to timestamp this. You want to track these things. Then you have live. They're using the product. They're onboarded. And then you have impact. Whenever somebody buys something from you, they want ROI, right? And I'd say the use case I always use is like, this is why Netflix has a top 10. A lot of people used to churn from Netflix before they had a studio and they were buying other people's shows because they didn't have new shows all the time. Their shows would go stale. And people would say, when they went to go pay their bill, they'd say, do I really watch this? It's the same shows. I'm not really watching it. I'll cancel now and I'll start again later if I want to when I have something new. So Netflix has a top 10 to show you that you always get impact. There's always new shows every month. So anytime that, you're giving a client impact and you're getting them value and ROI, they're going to stay with you. Kind of like hiring a good sales rep. When you hire a good sales rep, if you pay them, $100,000 a year when he first starts, but 5 years later, you're paying $1 million a year, it's usually because he's making you a lot more money, like $5 million, $10 million a year. You never regret hiring a good sales rep. The same way someone should never regret using your service, whether it's a B2B SaaS or a service or subscription. Whatever money they're putting into it, they should be getting more value out of it than they're paying. And when they do that, they stay long-term and they do not churn. So you want to make sure you ask if they have impact and they're happy and do a check-in. This is your CS process. And then you want to make sure that they have recurring impact. When it's time for renewal, if they're happy, and they're always happy month over month, if it's an annual contract, when it's time to renew, as long as nothing's changed or the business is going out of business or they're not merging or something, all things considered, they should renew. And then from here, you have lifetime value, meaning multiple renewals year over year, or they expand. It's my experience that when people trust you, there's only so many hours in a day. People usually want to work with a bunch of agencies, or they don't want a bunch of tech stack. They prefer if one tool or one company could do most of their things. Of course, there's always going to be some extra, hands and things, but it's hard for one person to manage 15 partners, right? You only have so much capacity. And so it's better when you can offer more services. If they already trust you, if you're an agent, if you're B2B SaaS product and they already trust you with their email, they might also trust you with their SMS because they already trust you to do a good job. They'd rather give that business to you than have another subscription to manage and another team to manage, another process to manage. So that's how you do expansions and recurring for lifetime value and grow the revenue. So when you go to sell a business or get invested in, they care about three numbers: acquisition, new business that comes in every month, year. Renewals are people staying longer than a year. And then expansions, are you able to grow those contracts? People who stay for a year or two, are they going up over time? If you have those three numbers healthy, then you have more multiples for your business. If you're a service business, it usually sells at 2.5x. But if you are remote and you're tech enabled and you have clients that stay long term, you have recurring revenue, that multiple goes up to 3, 4, 5x. And that's how much more value it'll bring your business. It also helps you make more revenue when you know how to pull these levers, which we'll talk about today, how to set this up to grow your revenue when you do this the right way. So we have this little sales pipeline mapper that I'll give you guys in the, I can drop the link now as well, but you also get an email after this that follows up and tells you and gives you the link to download the slides and download the sales pipeline mapper. Some of you might already have it because this is, we did this for SaaS Academy, and some of the people in the SaaS Academy group already downloaded this guide. So we invited them back. So you guys may be some of those people. And so I want to show you guys, I'll drop the link in the chat now in case you guys want to download it, follow along. So this is the sales pipeline mapper. And so the way that you want to set this up, there's a few things you can do. There's always leads always come in a certain way, right? And usually when leads come in, they're either prospects or they're MQLs. And so when a prospect comes in, HubSpot marks that as what's called like a lead or prospect. We like to change it to prospect because it gets confusing with the word lead, but they come in and those are people who are, we call it like prospect suspect. We don't know who they are. We don't know. There's no qualification there, right? So they come in as prospects, and maybe you're cold emailing them or reaching out to them, or you met them somewhere or you bought a list, etc. They're strangers. There's no qualification. Then MQLs are people who take action. They raise their hand and say, hey, I need help with this. And then SQLs is people who hop on the call and say, are you qualified? Do you have budget? Do you have a pain point that we can solve? Are we aligned? Are we a good fit for you? Is it timely? Is this going to happen within the next 6 months or a year? Or is this urgent? If this is something for 3 years from now, you're not qualified right now. You can come back later. It's not a qualified lead for now. It's a contact later situation. So that's sales qualification process. This is kind of the handoff. And then you have the first opportunity stage, which is where the sales team accepts the lead. And then you have your deal stages. And usually if you're doing 2-stage sales, this first call, this is like a qualification call. This is and when they book the first meeting in person, this is a discovery call. Like, what is the pain point you have? Can you explain it to me? You ask questions to figure out what's important to them, what their goals are, what metrics they're trying to hit, and make sure that your tool, whether it's a SaaS or service or a subscription of another sort, is going to meet that need for them. And that's the discovery call. Once the discovery call happens, you go to a demo call and say, hey, we reviewed it as a team, and this is which is what we think the best option for you or the best plan for you is. And you do that demo call and you walk them through the important features that are important to them. Don't tell them all the features you have in the whole world. If you have a large product, it could go forever. Like HubSpot, we could talk about this for days. It's really objectives based. You want to these demos objective based. What is your company's goal and objectives? What's the pain you're trying to solve, and how can I help you get there as fast as possible? And so you want to propose this demo to them in that order. And then after that, you typically go through an internal approval process, which is like go, no go. And their team will review and let you know. Usually once they come back, they'll give you a verbal like, hey, yeah, we like this. We want to go with this. They might have some negotiation or edits, and then you create a quote and contract and send it for signature. When they sign that contract, the deal becomes closed won. Payment's a little separate situation. Deals usually close won once they sign the contract, or if you're a SaaS, they sign a EULA, or they sign up. If it's like a product like Growth SaaS or Modern SaaS, they might sign up and pay at the same time, where the contract is in the payment terms, and it's all at once. We do, as an agency, we do a HubSpot quote. So they sign the quote and then they pay right there on the quote. So it's all kind of the same thing. Some people do, a quote and then invoice later and might have a net 30, net 60. And that's fine, but it's important that the deal is closed when they sign the contract. Sometimes if you have a net 30 or 60 for your enterprise or a larger account-based marketing, that's fine. The deal doesn't close when you get paid. The deal closes when they sign the contract. That's the timestamp you want. The net 30 is different. You'll get paid later. That's a accounting situation, or accrual versus cash. Like maybe in QuickBooks for your taxes, that's separate than your sales and revenue tracking. So that's important to know. And then once they sign, you want to get them onboarded. There's usually a handoff to a success team, or if you're an agency, maybe account management. And then you want to make sure they get acclimated to the tool. They have the resources they need to be successful to accomplish those goals. And then you want to set them live. Once they're onboarded, they go live. After they're live, you want to check in and make sure, hey, did you get the ROI? You want to do this sooner than later. Did you get everything you needed? Is it working the way you expected to? Is there anything we can do to make it more valuable to you? And also get feedback from them to see what they do and don't like. So the way the success team can tell the sales team, maybe we sold them something wrong, we should have sold them something better. Or if they say a lot of good things, and you can tell the marketing team, here's what they said they liked and what they use. And you can use that for case studies, referrals, and even promotional material to get more clients like them if they're a really good fit. And the whole point of this is to be a feedback loop. So you have these timestamps marked, and you can feedback the information in your HubSpot or in your CRM to make sure that the team has this to go forward and keep growing with. And that's the whole point. Then after you have that check-in for impact and that they say that they're happy, we're good, you usually have the end of the first term. You want to get a renewal call set up before then if you have annual contracts or quarterly contracts, or you want to make sure you get a renewal call set up, a good amount of time, at least a month or two before the renewal date, and make sure that they're still happy from the check-in date to that time. Of course, with CS, you might check in a lot more than that one time for impact. You can check in multiple times for impact. That's fine. There's a whole CS process we can go into later, but you just want to make sure that you do that. And then also check in at least before the renewal date's coming up, so you guys can start negotiating or talking about the renewal or any expansion opportunities. So when they renew, maybe they can get a bulk discount to do more with you guys if they want to stay on longer term. So you want to timestamp all these things. And this is like your new sales pipeline. And so the way to do this is at each stage, you want to map out what the buyer's doing, which we just talked about, the buyer's journey, and the seller side, what we're doing at that side. So the buyers, where they have a problem engaging, they're telling you the business issue. They're evaluating options. Are you a good option? Does this work? Is the proposal good? Is someone else a better option? They have internal approval processes. They sign, maybe go through legal or accounting, get this signed. And then they want to, they partner with you, they onboard, and then this is like realized value. They're like, hey, I think this is good. We see the value, want to work with you. They partner, and then they get onboarded, they live, and then impact. You want to see if they're happy, they want ROI. On the seller side, we MQL, SQL, deal stage 1 for discovery, identify need, deal stage 2 for define solution, go, no go. We already went over the rest of this, kind of similar for both sides. The next thing you want to fill out is days in this stage. How long should someone be in this situation? Based on your experience, in history and historical sales, you might know some of this already, but give it a ballpark best you can the first time around. And what we'll do is if you do this in HubSpot with us, we can show you how to make sure there's timestamps. So you have date entered and date exited. So you do your best guess here, and then you can start seeing what the actual times are for each rep, and we can average the times for reps and see what they actually are, and then improve this over time. Nothing's written in stone, but you do want to have these kind of deal stages as benchmarks, so like important buyer journey stages and how long it takes to go through them. So you can see psychologically how long it takes for someone to make a decision based on their business size, business type, and what you're selling them. Then you have probability to close, same kind of thing. Take your best guess, and over time we'll get the real numbers for conversion rates. We'll be able to fill that back in. And that way, once you have these real numbers, later on you can hire a sales rep comfortably. When you're a startup, you might not be able to hire a sales rep comfortably because you don't know what you can pay them. You're not sure how fast deals close. It's kind of all up in the air your first year or so. Once you find product to market fit, which means you have over $1 million in annual recurring revenue, and you with the same product. If you're always selling different things, $1 million, that's not enough. You need to have $1 million in annual recurring revenue for one product or one service line. Once you've done that, you've sold it usually enough times to where you kind of have these numbers down, then you can go, and the founder is going to do a better job of selling than the first sales rep. The founder is going to be 20% more successful. So you at least have benchmarks of how well the founder sells the same product over and over again for a year for $1 million. Then you have benchmarks on how to hire the next sales rep. You understand how to pay them because they'll be 20% worse than the founder. And then you know what those numbers need to be to have a successful sales rep. That way you're not hiring or firing people off your gut feeling. You're doing it off of data and numbers. So if they're a good fit, they're a good fit. If they're not, they're not. Then you also need to make sure that you enable them. The whole point of this document is to track everything needs to happen in these stages. So you're giving them the materials they need and the training and the guide they need to be able to close these deals the same exact way the founder would. The founder is trying to replicate themselves. So the founder can move on to the next thing or the next part of the business, like working on the product or marketing or promotion. And so the founder can move out of sales once you've documented all this and you're able to train a sales team member. So hiring a sales team member is a couple of things. One, making sure that you enable them correctly with all this information and it's standardized and it's the same process over and over again. You've done it to $1 million, you can guarantee the success of the rep as long as the rep does the work, right? So if you give him the right materials and training and he's doing the right work, it should work out just fine. And if it doesn't work out just fine, then he's a bad fit. This is probably not a good place for him. He could, maybe try working somewhere else. Everything's not for everybody, And so that's how that works. Then this is the point of these numbers. And then you have sales activity. This is, again, training. Like, what does the sales team need to be doing in this stage? What are the goals or should be thinking of? Any content or enablement stuff, training, proposal decks, all the kind of stuff that they might need to help the deal go like a little faster, a little smoother. Make sure you have that there. And then you also want to do entry requirements. So entry requirements are like you don't want to move these deal stages manually and they never go backwards, because if it goes backwards, it'll ruin the conversion rates and you're tracking in your CRM. So they always go forward. If they close loss, and they come back later, then open another deal later. It's a new deal. But don't ever go backwards because you want to make sure the numbers are accurate and the time reporting is accurate. And so you want to do entry requirements. Instead of them moving the stages themselves, you need to have a reason for every new stage. For example, MQL comes in because they submit a form usually or book a meeting. SQL is because you ask qualification questions like, do they have budget? Are they the right industry? Do they have the right pain point? It was just an accidental call or form fill, or is this a real thing? Do they really have a need? Is it timely? Then once you qualify them, you have the qualification questions answered. that can move it to the stage, or you just enter qualification date once you've asked the questions, log it, enter the date you qualified them, and it'll move to the next stage. Then you have, business issues. What are their problems? It's the discovery call. You do the discovery call, you run a playbook for the discovery call. Once that discovery call is done, if it's a good fit and you're going to move on to the proposal, maybe a good one for that is, you start listing out the line items, right? Like, hey, yeah, I think these are the products they need. I heard discovery, add line items to the deal, and now it's going to move it from discovery to proposal, because we know what solutions we're going to offer them, what packages we're going to offer them based on the discovery call. So that'll move over. And then, define a solution. Maybe this is a proposal deck you send them or attach, or maybe it's a second call you do and do actual demo in person. So a lot of people these days do the virtual sales. The sales room. They might send a Loom, or they might send them a link where it's like a customized sales room where they can share with their team. If you send it to a big company, you can either hop on a call with them and walk them through it and answer questions, or you can send them a link where it's a sales room, and it'll walk through the presentation in the Loom and answer any questions, and they can click on it, share, it's interactive. They can run calculations to try different pricing, so they can do it with their own team if they have a big buying committee. So maybe that's what you do for this. Either sent proposal or sent that sales room, or Loom or video recording, etc. And then obviously, once they agree to that, give you verbal commitment. Contract sent is the next one, and then contract signed is usually so verbal commitment is usually go, no go. Once they review it and they give you an okay or no, yay or nay. They say go, verbal commitment, then you create the actual quote or checkout or invoicing or link. And then once they sign that, it moves to close one. And so that's kind of the entry requirements. Onboarding is usually a handoff to your team. So maybe you want to create a ticket or a task and HubSpot, or sync it to Asana or Jira or ClickUp. A lot of different ways to do that, but make sure you have a trigger for that so it's automated and it does the handoff, notifies the team, books a meeting. And then live, when onboarding is completed, make sure that whoever the onboarding team is documents that, or the CS team is, they document that, so you know what date it ended, and it moves over here automatically. Then check-in call for impact, and do a meeting for that once the meeting's attended. When you have meetings in HubSpot, you can have the meeting booked, and then you can also have, did they attend or did they no-show, et cetera, to reschedule. So you have outcomes of meetings. I usually use outcomes to say, hey, like this happened, they attended, just so it doesn't automatically do it just because it was booked. You want to make sure that they attended it. Once they attended it, it'll move it here. And then end the first term. Usually when you have a contract, you have a start date and end date. We put start date and end date on business deals. The deals in HubSpot have create date and close date. That's different than start and end date. So we also put start and end date on our deals. So we have the start date of the contract and the end date. It'll obviously populate the contract as well whenever we do the quote. So that's all in there. So this is kind of how we map it out with you guys. And this is like the beginning of the practicum. And then what we do next is we actually go and we build it in HubSpot for you. And so that's pretty interesting, because it's what we do is map it to 3 different objects. HubSpot has contacts or companies based on if you sell to individuals, like your product-led growth, like a ClickUp or Asana. You might have 1 seat or 1 user, or your direct consumer, or you might do, organizations. You do company. A ChatGPT might be individual or might be company. They sell to both, right? But lifecycle stages kind of sync them together. So I'm going to go over that briefly and kind of show you what that means and how that all kind of works. So in HubSpot, you have contacts, companies, leads, and deals. And so the way that these things work is a contact in a company. A contact is represented by an email. That's how it represents a human being inside of HubSpot. Their email address. And usually you can have a user. There's a user. You might be able to add 2 email addresses. That's fine. But the source of truth is the email. So it's usually your business email address or your business domain. And so that's how a contact's created. And then if you have Jeff at Amazon.com, it'll also create the company Amazon.com, because it takes that domain. It'll attach Jeff and Amazon, the company, together. Then if someone else comes in from Amazon later, from a webinar, or website, or a forum or something, like Joe at Amazon, it'll also attach that person to Amazon.com. So there's 2 contacts on that company. if one of those people becomes, moves from a prospect to an opportunity, or et cetera, what'll happen is it'll automatically, let me show you here. So to move from like a prospect to a marketing qualified lead or an opportunity, what'll happen is it'll move the company there as well. And whichever contact is further along is what it'll do. Usually syncs them all. You can turn that off if you need to, because sometimes you might sell to different departments. Like you might sell to Microsoft in Europe, or Microsoft in America. If they have the same domain, it's the same company. If they have different domains, like Amazon Fresh, like fresh.amazon, you can make it a child company, so they're not attached. But if they are attached, in case, whatever the furthest lifecycle stage is, what it'll be. So if somebody came in from this division who wants to buy from you, but a different division wants to buy a different product from you, whichever one's further along is what the business would be. So that's how that works. And so these lifecycle stages are the whole buyer journey end to end. And so what they do is, I'm going to hope you guys can see my screen here. 1 second. I think I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Can you drop me a note in the chat? Let me know if you guys see this okay. Can you see it now? Oh, let me switch it over. I think this is how I switch it. Here we go. Okay, I think you guys can see it now. And so this, so HubSpot has these life cycle stages. And so this is the buyer journey overall. So this is how you map, kind of end to end, from a prospect all the way through lead, and then opportunity, which is a deal, which is a contract, like you have a piece of a business, and then a customer, all the way to onboarded live, repeat business, renewal, and lifetime customer. They bought from you for multiple years and multiple contracts, and there's no end in sight, there's no end of contract. And so this is kind of how you do the whole big picture. There's a breakdown in this where you can do a segment, and that segment is first segment's lead status. So when you have a lead, it can be marketing qualified or sales qualified. Marketing qualified leads are handed off to the sales team. And what the sales team does is they then take that and work that lead, and that's called the lead object. And so what sales teams do with that lead object is they, see if I can find this for you. It has some automation built into it. And what it tells you is, are you, did the sales team get the lead? The MQL came in from a form. Did the sales team reach out? Did the lead respond? Did the lead connect and book a meeting? Are you waiting for a response? And then, is the lead qualified? It's your qualification process. So lead object is the subset of, prospect, MQL, and SQL. And so that's what the lead object is for. And then once the lead is qualified, it'll move on to a deal. So I'll give you guys a quick little example of that. So let me see if it's pull up for you. And then we'll get to a Q&A section after this, see if this is helpful. If you guys want any help walking through some of these processes. So here's the prospecting. Here's leads. Again, you can do it by company or lead, but let's say a lead's an MQL. Every time an MQL comes in, it'll create a lead here in this little lead bucket for me. And then there's a stage, and it's automated in HubSpot. When they come in, it's called new. Whenever someone from the sales team reaches out to them via email, call, or SMS, it'll move it to attempted. The sales team's attempting to reach out. And then whenever the lead responds via email or books a meeting, it'll move it to connected, because it says that, hey, like, we've connected, we've had a conversation, and it's all automated. It reads the CRM. And then once you've connected with them on a call, you get to decide, like, are they qualified? Are they a good person for us to sell to or not? And so here is how that works. So this is all automated, but the qualification is the last part that's not automated, and you'll do that yourself. If it's disqualified, then it gives you a reason. Maybe it's disqualified because they're a bad fit and it'll take them out of there, or if it's disqualified because it's bad timing. They're a good fit, but they don't have this need for 6 more months. Follow back up with them in 6 months. And when you disqualify them, it'll say, do you want to create a task? You can create a task and follow up with them later. If it is qualified, it'll pull up a deal, and you'll create a deal here and then put it in your deal pipeline, which is the stages here that we talked about. This is kind of what that looks like. And then, let's see, is this a better format? Let me see if this is better. I don't realize you guys couldn't see that the whole time. I'll tell you. Okay. Okay, this is the stream again. Not sure why it won't take out the why it's not switching these for the oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, and so you can see down here the prospecting. Here's the stages we talked about. Once you move it to qualified, it'll go and create this deal for you. You can, and if there's already the deal in the pipeline that's already happening, you can always add it to that deal. Maybe split someone else from the company already, and you can merge the deals together so that both people in the company will be on the same record. There's associations, or you can create a new deal based on what's happening. And then once that deal happens, it'll move over to this deal pipeline, and these are the stages that we mapped out together here. And so you'll see the deal stages all the way through. This is HubSpot's pipeline, which is a little different for selling their software than like ours for selling our service, but this is kind of how it works. So that's the stages, and then as you move something or try to move something to another stage, it'll ask you which properties you want to fill in. When you fill those in, it moves over. So that's the process more or less. Then here's the life cycle stages I was talking about before. We start with prospect, MQL, SQL, the lead stages in between here. Once it's qualified, it creates the deal. All your deal stages are an opportunity. So deal stages 1 through close are here. Once it moves to close 1, they become a customer. Once they're onboarded, they become live. And once the first contract ends and they have a second contract, they sign a second deal, it becomes MRR. And they have 3 deals or more, it becomes lifetime value. And so you have the whole buyer journey. And the point of this is that you can track all the important metrics we talked about for your revenue operations. So I'll go back to the slide. So you can track all these important numbers you need for conversion rates, time metrics, etc. So that way you can predict your monthly recurring revenue. You know how many people you have in each one of these stages, the conversion rates it takes from lead to MQL to customer, etc., and the time it takes to get between them, because HubSpot timestamps all the life cycle stages and all the deal stages. You can see how long it takes to go between them and the conversion rates are in your reports. And the last thing we'll talk about before I open the floor for questions is, like, why is this such a big advantage? The first thing is it can help you predict your monthly recurring revenue with usually within 90-95%. You can now you know what your inputs are. If I get 1,000 leads, I'm going to close at least 10, and my deals average $10,000. So every 1,000 leads, I'll make $100,000, right? And you have this formula. As long as the leads are qualified, then you know that you can depend on the revenue, right? And same thing with impact and renewals. If people are happy and their CSATs are good and they're saying they're happy, they're going to renew, and you can depend on that renewal. So now you're not scared to hire salespeople. You're also not scared to grow your business because you can depend on the revenue. So that's the first big thing this does for you. So that's probably one of the most important. But then also it helps you understand your sales pipeline. So when you have these numbers, what you're going to understand is that there's compound interest on the compounding effects on the right side of this success model. Meaning, the more people you can retain in the longer term, the more exponential your revenue is going to become. If I sell 100 people and then lose 100 people every year, I'm not going to grow. I'm breaking even, and I'm probably losing money because I'm spending money to do sales. But if I sell 100 people this year, sell 100 people next year, they're both in year-long contracts. Then at the end of year 2, if most of them stay, maybe have 190 customers. I've almost doubled my revenue, right? And so that's why revenue operation is so important. Just doing little small increases, like the number of touches, the number of meetings you have, the number of check-ins, the higher their CSAT, all these different things creates a lot of like really big lift, and it's exponential. Like a really, really small change, like can really increase your revenue a lot. Like just a small change in conversion rates, like, point 0.05 in conversion rate 1, 0.04 in conversion rate 2. These little small conversion rates between these, well, look, this is double the revenue, double the annual revenue. It's also grown the contract value. So these things are really, really important. And they're really important levers of pull that you can do to really change your business trajectory. So that's the second big thing, is that small incremental increases make really big impacts in revenue operations when you've done it right. So the first thing is you can predict your revenue. Second thing is you can really, really grow it effectively and spin that flywheel faster. And the third thing is that there's a rhyme and reason to all this. This is a scientific method and approach. This is not a guess. There's always a little art to business and personal relationship, but this is a scientific approach, meaning that each one of these things has a psychological journey and some of the buyers that you're trying to do. So these stages exist for a reason. And with these stages, I can now know what is the reason. Like, the time frame from going to, your T1, right? The prospect conversion time. It's the time that it takes to develop a conversation with a customer, right? And so all these different things have different meanings and different reasons that they happen. And so you can understand how to improve them and do those incremental improvements. So a good example I like to use is here you'll see prospect to MQL rate. So from my CR1, if I'm trying to get more prospects to be qualified, what that means, I want them to fill out a form or attend an event or reach out to me, right? Book a meeting with me. And so if I have a bunch of people here, so here's the CR1 right here. So here's the CR1, right? So, identified to interested. So if I have a bunch of prospects I'm reaching out to, and I can't get them interested in me, there's only one of two issues. I'm talking to the wrong people, or I'm saying the wrong thing. If there's people who need my help, and I'm communicating to them that I can help them, and it's affordable and it's a good fit, and they trust me, and there's social proof, and I have references, and I have good social media and good following, and have a good standing, then they're going to buy if they can afford to, right? And so we want to make sure we can target people who have budget, the company is the right size, they have the right problem, and that I'm doing enough, I'm saying the right things, and I look like a person that can help them. Then this is going to increase, right? This is going to improve. And if I don't have this, it means that one of two things: talking to the wrong people or saying the wrong thing. And I can fix that by going to my current customers and saying, what do my current customers look like? What do they care about? Where do they live? What sales channels, what news do they read? And I can figure out how to find more of those people in their community, right? I can identify more of the right leads. I can also ask them what's important to them, do customer interviews, say, hey, what problem were you looking to solve? What problems do you have? How do we help you? What do we do best? And use that feedback loop to make sure that my marketing is better. We look more polished. We're better able to help people because we understand their problem in their own words better. Instead of assuming that our service is just amazing, we ask them what they think and how we can make it better, and we solve for that customer. And then we're really solving for these people. Then you can increase that, improve that rate. And so that's why revenue operations, and that's why it's important to map this pipeline this way, to have a scientific approach to solve each one of these problems. So I'll give you guys this deck. It'll be in the follow-up email, and you guys can take a look at it and hopefully apply some of this to your business. And if you need help, definitely reach out to us. But I will open the floor for questions now. I'll see if anybody has any questions. I'll throw a poll up in the meantime and give you guys some time to see, if there's anything I can help with. And there's also a recording of this, by the way, guys. There's we have a recording for it's on demand. So after this, you can always check out the recording and see if you want to watch it again or share with the team. Okay, guys, I'll leave it open for a couple more minutes. See if you guys need more help with anything, and then I'll close it out and send out the recording and the assets for you guys to download to see if it's helpful. All right, guys, wrap this one up. Thanks everybody for coming, and hopefully I'll catch you guys at the next one, the last Thursday of May. Have a good day, guys. Bye.